You're listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. Before we get started, if you could, help us out by leaving a rating and some feedback from wherever you get your podcast from. We really do appreciate it. This is episode 87, where we sit down with the retail manager of Independence, Levi. He's responsible for just about everything you see on the floor of the shop. We talk about what his job entails, his unique upbringing around firearms, and what most people don't know about managing a gun store. We really enjoyed this episode, and we hope you do too. So thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy episode 87 of Range Minded, the Levi Dennis interview. Hello and welcome to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. My name is Mark Long and I am joined by...
Hey, Steve Zimmerman. I'm here in the studio.
Live and in person, and we are joined by a third as well.
It's Levi Dennis. I'm the retail manager here at Independence.
The Levi Dennis, the hardest man to get pinned down to do a podcast, but that's okay because you are probably the busiest man here.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
Yeah.
So he says he's busy.
Hey, you got to play the part, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, right. So retail manager, you're responsible for everything on the floor, right?
Correct. And I also do all the buying as well too. So special orders, product for the floor, that's me. So kind of wearing two hats keeps me busy, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Cool, man. So how did you end up getting kind of involved with Independence? Because you've been here for a while now, too.
Yeah, it was kind of...
Almost from the beginning.
Yeah, almost from the beginning. I was here just before the soft open. I was actually working over at Impact Guns at the time, and I was just working my normal shift, and I ended up getting a phone call, and it was an employee that's no longer here, but... he was asking if I was interested in working at another range. Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? Because I heard there was a rumor of a place opening up, but I mean, there for about 5 years, there was a rumor that there was going to range open up every year, and it never happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, what are you doing in about 15 minutes? Can you be here? And so I ended up taking a lunch, and I ran over and interviewed with Ryan, the general manager, and ended up interviewing with Steve later. Yep. And and then that was kind of all she wrote. Immediately turned in my 2 weeks and kind of tried to cut the cord a little sooner. That way I could kind of join and get the help the store get set up. And it's kind of funny. I originally agreed to just be an RSO.
That did not last very long.
I just, because we didn't want to be the new Impact 2.0.
Right.
And so I kind of agreed to just be RSO, hang out in the range and just kind of do my thing. And the morning before the soft open, we almost had an employee mutiny because they were talking about what we were going to be doing for the day, who's going to do what. And when they called my name, Ryan was going to put me in the range, and everyone spoke up differently. So,
really?
Yeah, so I kind of felt honored. It was good. Felt welcomed right off the bat.
Cool, man.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. Well, you do keep busy around here. I mean, being responsible for how many guns we have in the store?
As far as the amount, I can't say in particular. I know we're at log number 7,800. So we've had 7,800 guns come through the door. We're currently sitting on about 1 mil for the full inventory of the store.
Man.
So we've got a lot to sit on for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And, we've talked with Nick Hoffer before about retail and all that kind of stuff. And really space is the name of the game.
Oh, it really is. Maximizing your potential and making sure you're carrying the right product as well, too. There for a while, I think we were a little bit brand new. We were kind of experimenting with different things to carry. And I think now, year 2, we have a better idea of what our market is and the types of products that we need to carry. So it's been a learning curve, but it's been good. I like it. Yeah,
because really, I mean, you have to think about not only what guns are popular and what guns sell more than others, but you have to think about the accessories that go with them, and what people buy.
Yeah, no, and what I was going to say too is a lot of people don't understand that there's not a lot of money in guns. If that's all you sold, you wouldn't be able to really keep the doors open. The guns kind of sell themselves, and it's what kind of brings people in the door. But you're right, that's not what the moneymaker is. It's the holsters, ammunition, accessories, and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you have a good option for sure. Because if you don't have the right stuff and you're not upselling, you're not going to be around much longer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to a customer today. He was looking at... He has a little bit of money to spend, so he was looking at some of the chassis guns we have up on the wall, and he's like, well, that's a lot of money. Can you throw in a scope? Can you just throw in a bipod? Like, what do you think we're making here? Like,
right?
I told him, it's like, dude, guns don't have much of a margin on them.
No, it's very small
the
percentage.
Product is what what makes us the money. The range makes a little bit of money, but it is really expensive to run the range too, which a lot of people don't understand. But it is merchandise that we make the money in.
No, absolutely.
Inside
it's
baseball,
like
right there.
You're making $25 on a gun. You can't really throw in $100 scope. At that point, you're paying them to take it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that it's not just like talking about making money, but it's stuff you need if you're a gun owner anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
like a bunch of extras. I mean, obviously there's some silly stuff, not necessarily on our floor, just in the gun world.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Sky's the limit on how crazy you want to get with it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So do you have a lot of people like that come talk to you about wanting to carry their product? Maybe they're like a developer or something, or?
Yeah, I will be honest. I have probably some of the best employees at screening my phone calls. I'm a very difficult person to get in touch with, just because on average I get about 25 to 30 calls a day.
Really?
And, at first it was really welcomed. I was curious to see what different people had to offer. And, occasionally you do find a diamond in the rough.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, a lot of times, being honest, kind of glorified salesman. And, and if it's, 5-10 minutes, that's no problem. I'm always willing to hear somebody out. But there are times it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours just to kind of realize, like, I'm not buying any of this stuff.
Wow, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of time, especially when, there's only usually 8 hours in the workday, which I mean, I'm sure you've not worked on only an 8 hour day in forever. So
no, I know it'd be nice to get on an 8 hour schedule. Actually, that'd be well welcomed.
Remember when I worked part time?
Yeah, right.
What's that?
Yeah, but and then you, like you said, you handle all the ammo sales and stuff too, right? So you got to stay on top of how much people are using and buying, and
exactly. And that's the other big challenge too, because depending on what time of year you're gonna be busier. Obviously, you're busier in the holiday season. When it's cold outside, people don't want to shoot outside. So understanding what that flow is going to be, because we've had issues where we had ammo that was supposed to ship and it didn't. Instead of shipping when it was supposed to, it took over a month and a half.
Wow!
And if that's your main bread and butter, it's like being a gas station running out of gas.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things that if you're not paying attention and on top of it, you could go into a standstill for sure. So
and that is super embarrassing when that stuff happens. Super.
Has that ever happened to you, Steve?
Yeah.
You say we're out of ammo, we can't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
sucks.
if you're the buyer, you're definitely in the hot seat at that point in time. You're not everybody's. You're pretty much everyone's enemy, nobody's friend at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, we've had some issues, and a lot of that was just learning the manufacturers and kind of how their process works. We also joined a buy group just recently, which is going to be a really big deal for us. We'll have a lot more options in product, hopefully better prices. One of the things that we're doing too is kind of passing on those discounts to the customers. So if I'm buying ammo cheaper, I'm going to lower that cost. I'm not going to sit there and still charge that higher dollar amount.
Yep.
So, but the good thing is we're going to have a lot more options. Kind of the downside is now kind of relearning the game, because when you order from a distributor, a lot of times they have that product in stock. So when you hit submit, 4 or 5 days that product's going to be in your floor. With a buy group and going through manufacturers, you place that order, it could be a week, 2 weeks, or even a month and a half. So
really?
it's definitely an interesting game for sure.
Yeah, so you're learning all over again,
Oh,
really.
yeah, pretty much. I feel like I still got my training wheels on.
But what's interesting, I think, about you, too, is you've been in the gun world basically your whole life, right?
Yeah, that I have ever since 8 years old, really.
Yeah.
In and off the military ranges. And when I was younger, I originally started working at a range out in Montana.
Okay.
Big gun fun, West Yellowstone. It was a lot of fun. We didn't really sell guns. It was just a range. It was full autos. A bunch of tourists. On average, I had about 300 shooters a day.
Wow.
And I tell you what, I feel a lot safer in the environment I'm in now. One of the nerve-wracking things is you'd have a class of about 30, 50 students, and the only person that speaks English is their translator.
Oh, wow.
And, if you're doing arts and crafts, that's one thing, but dealing with fully automatic machine guns, that's a different story for sure.
That's crazy.
I chuckle because I know what that's like.
Oh, you've been, haven't you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. But Idaho Falls.
Idaho Falls, we dealt with that quite a bit, right on the way to Yellowstone. So.
Oh yeah, because there's a lot of tourists from other countries that come see Yellowstone and want to do everything, right?
Yeah, they want that full American experience,
and it's bus loads. of people, not just onesie twosies.
Yeah, like if you've ever been to Yellowstone, you see the tour buses lined up, back to front or whatever, and it's like.
And for business, it's good, but from an employee standpoint, it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah,
so stressful.
Well, because I mean, not only do you have to, teach gun safety, but you have that language barrier too, and people who probably never even held a gun before ever.
Yeah, and if you're polite, I mean, you can't really. I mean, you can be polite to an extent, but no, you can't. I mean, you really have to get in there and get that gun if there's somebody not pointing in the right direction or anything. And with that language barrier, you can't really say stop, put it down. So be honest, a lot of times it was more hands on.
Yeah,
and there's some things that are universal in every language. So.
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, nice. So. Yeah, so that's a heck of a start.
Yeah,
and then you ended up here in Boise, then, right?
Yeah. So I was out there for a few years. Ended up finding out I was going to have a daughter, and living in West Yellowstone was great, but the closest hospital was an hour and a half away. So going to doctor's visits, it was about 3 hours. Going back and forth, and so as baby was getting a little bit closer, we're like, probably go back to civilization might be a good idea. And it was really kind of spooky. Gene Fisher, actually, I got to give a shout out to him because I was my last day at Big Gun Fun in West Yellowstone. Didn't really have a job lined up for Boise. I was just gonna, move and kind of figure out from there.
Wing it and see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that last day, I came out of the range after helping a big group, and there was this gentleman, Gene, and he actually worked at Impact Guns here in Boise.
Yeah.
And we talked for about 15, 20 minutes, and he's like, well, we'd love to have you and everything like that. And tell you what, I ended up moving. And I hadn't even got all my stuff moved in. I was still kind of getting situated, and they started calling me back to back and called me in for an interview. And
nice.
That's all she wrote. Yeah. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, that's one kind of interesting thing I've learned about the gun world is it's kind of like a lot of other industries that if you have a certain set of skills, you can take those and transfer those and go anywhere you want to in the country, which is kind of cool.
And it's a very close-knit community.
I was just going to say that the gun community is very small when you get to know the people that everybody knows everybody. You go to SHOT Show, it's overwhelming, but that's pretty much the industry concentrated in one spot. So you got, and most of those are looky-loos. So you got 60,000 people in a weekend, but maybe 20% or maybe what the industry really is. And so everybody just knows everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the reps that I have, they were reps of a different company. It's like, they're new to that particular company, but they've been my rep for 10 years. So yeah, and that's, it's definitely a good thing for sure. But it also shows if you're not polite and you're not nice, that community can get real small.
Yeah, you probably lose a lot of friends real fast. So,
but on the flip side, they step up for you if you need it.
I can think of a few reps I've dealt with that been on both sides of that coin.
Yeah, I might know a few myself.
So let's talk about, if we can, about how you kind of got into the gun world so early, if you can talk about that.
To an extent, yeah. I can't really say a whole lot, but basically my dad was a weapon expert for the military. He worked DOD, and he supported all branches, basically training our SF, our elite soldiers, training the officers on how to, train their soldiers and everything like that. And so a very high level of experience. And, he supported every weapon system, anything that fired a bullet. So things from sidearms to the weapon systems on the Apache helicopters to M1A1 tanks, anything that fired a bullet, that was him.
That's crazy.
Hands down the coolest job in the world, I got to admit.
Yeah, for sure.
And and so, when I was 8 years old, instead of going to daycare, I just kind of went with him to work. And at first it was just kind of fun hanging out, showing all the different guns and toys and stuff like that. And I got a little bit older, and just so happened they were doing a force-on-force training with Milsim Ammunition, and a few of their guys were sick and they were shorthanded. And so I just happened to be there. I think at the time I was 11, something like that. Was really big into paintball at the time, so to me it was a very similar correlation. And I ended up just getting tasked to help out, and basically, I didn't get paid, but got my butt kicked all day, got multiple welds, shot multiple times, and ended up earning some respect, and it just kind of took off from there, and it became more of a consistent thing.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. It's
awesome.
Such a cool story.
I love it, and I ended up playing paintball semi-professionally when I was over in Germany in the Millennium Series. And when I came back to the States, Boise State had just been starting a team. And I ended up my junior year in high school taking a few BSU classes early. Oh, okay. It was a club sport, so as long as I had, I think it was like 3 credits or something like that, I was eligible to play.
Nice.
So for that, it was really nice to kind of translate a lot of those skill sets to that aspect of the sport. but they ended up helping us be role players, and we ended up having the Boise State team hired by the National Guard and helping them do force-on-force training and basically big kid paintball and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Although I won't name names, I'll tell you the first time we did it, though, somebody had a pretty good sense of humor. We were sitting in a building, all paintball guns, and a convoy rolls in, and we're told to kind of, test their limits of rules of engagement. So, people have guns there, they have things, so that we can't just be shooting just because they have a gun.
Right.
So, we're supposed to taunt, tease, stuff like that, and that's may have been exactly what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I was up in a window on the second floor, and the lead Humvee had a 50 cal on it. Swung right up and open fired. And
oh man!
I just remember seeing the flashes of that cannon going off and diving in the fetal position. And the drill sergeant behind me was literally laughing his ass off. And it's because you were using blanks, but no one thought it would be wise to tell us that they would have blanks. So I'm sitting there with a paintball gun in my head going against a 50 cal.
Wow!
And I started questioning what I was doing real quick.
Yeah, seriously, that's a crazy story.
You just started taking pot shots back at him.
Yeah. That's eventually what ended up happening, something similar to that, and
snipe him out of the.
Yeah, right.
I may have had a vendetta a little bit after that. Yeah.
Man. So yeah, those skills probably had to translate. From learning that force on force training when you were younger, and then taking that to paintball because it's a lot of team movement and stuff.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's a lot of the training that we are doing in the armed forces is very similar to paintball. It's not as realistic as we'd like it to be, but having one-on-one shooting experiences where you're having to spar with somebody, understanding, oh, my butt's sticking out because I just got shot.
Right.
Those are things that you can run dry or, even live rounds in the range, but unless you have someone shooting back at you, you really don't know your full limitations of that element of cover. And for me, one of the biggest things is, with paintball, you have really big obstacles to hide behind and you have really small obstacles.
Sure.
And understanding, different ways that you can position yourself in those elements of cover and still be effective. So that was something that I feel very fortunate for. And it really, in my opinion, helped excel a lot of those abilities for sure. Really good. I just, never thought doing something I loved as a kid would, give me skill set for my life.
For sure.
Definitely lucked out.
Yeah. And then you got into weapons design a little bit too,
I
right?
did. Yeah. So that was one of the things over in Montana, is Big Gun Fun. Is he was designing weapons as well too. We specialize in the Chris Vector.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
and so that gun stock is about 1,800 rounds a minute. It's about 30 bullets a second. And at the time, it was only chambering the 45 ACP.
Right.
By the time I left, we had a very unique design that actually we had to switch over to titanium parts just because we were blowing out of them super quick. And it clocked in at 2,400 rounds a minute, being about 40 bullets a second. And a lot of guys are asking, well, why do you need such a high rate of fire in such a small submachine gun such as that? And a lot of people understand that it's not Hollywood. You're not holding down the full auto button and just spraying and praying. But that particular weapon system has a 2-round burst. And when you can increase that rate of fire, what you're doing is shortening the distance between those bullets. And with that high rate of fire, it felt like one trigger squeeze and you're popping 2 rounds. And so for CQB purposes, it's a very phenomenal weapon for sure.
Yeah, because you're not, the recoil actually doesn't even hit because it goes out so fast, right? So it does feel like one shot, you're able to stay on target.
Correct. It's so quick. It's like doing the double taps, basic handgun stuff. But on that particular weapon system, it has kind of a K-bolt design. So it's coming back and down at a 30-degree angle versus straight back. And so what that does is it allows it to actually reduce the recoil by about 70%.
Wow.
And it actually pulls the barrel down on every shot. So not only are you having such a consistent or fast rate of fire to keep those bullets close, it's actually pulling that barrel down on every shot. So it's very easy to manage, very accurate. It was a fun weapon system to play with for sure.
Yeah.
But doing that job too is actually really cool because we got a lot of interesting guns coming in, and we'd get guns from overseas and stuff like that would kind of come in a crate. No manual, nothing, covered in cosmoline. So of course you're getting the gasoline out for a day or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have no idea how this system works, and you look up YouTube and trying to figure out how these things work. And for me, I think that was one of the more fun parts of the job.
Oh, for sure.
Just kind of learning the different stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Big kid toys.
And that's got to help. That's got to help kind of learn, to to determine like what's a quality product now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You can
Absolutely.
take those skills and use that here. So
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's definitely what helped set me up for my success. I feel very fortunate for sure. And there was a point in time when I was on those ranges that I actually went through a lot of health issues. I won't name names and stuff like that just because that's not right. But I ended up getting lead poisoning, and
really?
Just not having proper ventilation system on the ranges that I was working on and stuff like that. And I got to the point I'd be off work, 3 days off, and I'm still blowing black tar looking stuff out of my nose.
Jeez,
and we ended up starting testing our blood, and they say if you're over 10 parts per million of lead in your system, you're considered elevated to the point that the health commission and health department get involved and do a little investigation.
Oh, wow.
Myself and even a few of the other employees came back over 60. And, at the time, I think I was 24, 25.
Yeah.
And they were saying if I wanted to see age 40, I needed to get out of the range in the gun industry completely.
Really?
And
wow.
so, yeah, it was a real big deal for sure. And a lot of people seeing my health deteriorate, trying to push me out of it, tell me to, go get a welding job or go work at some paper factory or something like that. But, I just stay true. It's something I'm passionate about. And lo and behold, I ended up in a really nice spot where, the guys care about safety and the health aspects. And tell you what, my first month being here, I was on the range more often here than I was anywhere else, and my lead levels already cut in half. And
wow.
it had nothing to do with being in the range. It just had everything to do with having the proper state-of-the-art ventilation system.
We
absolutely.
talked Jared. We had him on, the owner.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's just a crazy, awesome dude.
Yeah, he is.
But he talked at length about the ventilation system and all that kind of stuff and how it works and
that thing's powerful. Yeah,
and how expensive they are. But that's really is important. I mean, that's a testament to
life's invaluable. If you're especially you want to take care of your employees, but you also want to take care of your customers. Making sure they have a positive experience and they're leaving it. It's a positive deal versus I don't know, poisoning people.
Yeah,
you tend to have a better customer base if you're not poisoning them.
Yeah,
if they're still alive. Yeah,
it's kind of a mutual respect thing, I guess. But real quick about Jared, one thing I'll have to say is I was really impressed, with just his demeanor and just his mindset, and I think maybe a lot of that has to do with him being a doctor, but when I got hired on, I was very upfront and honest about my health issues that I was going with, and he was somebody that really took that to heart, and he was really concerned, and he promised, he's like, we're going to do everything that we can to not have that same experience, at this range. And to have that type of commitment and thought process from, the number one top of the food chain, it says a lot about the company as a whole. And so from a very quick standpoint, I started realizing who I was working for, and it was interesting to feel like an actual person, versus just a replaceable number.
Yeah.
And so shout out to him. I got a lot of respect, and it really left an impression with me right when I first started.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy, and he does really care about everybody here.
Yes, he does.
To a T. And but I mean, going back to the lead a little bit too, is that it's really nothing to mess with. We've talked about kind of range hygiene before and whatnot, and don't eat afterwards unless you wash your hands, and why D-lead is important and things like that. Because
things I didn't think about were when you get home, showering before you go to bed, because the lead will stay in your hair. And if you go and you lay in your bed, that lead can come out of your hair and stay in your pillow.
Really? Starting to cross-contaminate.
Yeah, and then you're getting that long-term exposure even though you don't realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And that's why I tried, in the beginning, we tried to make sure that we had those protocols and the information available to our employees to where they knew what was going down. And
I just like to see how seriously we took it. I mean, it's a lot of these companies can be in for profit and stuff like that, but I felt like we really cared about it, and that's
and hopefully awesome not. It seems like sometimes maybe those guys try to hide it. The upper echelons of some of the ranges that they're scared maybe like losing employees or something, so they just kind of bury some of that information, and that's actually can be criminally liable at some point if they're not careful. So it's important. It's not.
It's the right thing to do. Bottom line.
Some things are really not that expensive or that hard to do to maintain safety of your employees and customers. Other things like the ventilation, they can get extremely costly, but there's avenues you can take that really aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of, especially new shooters, don't realize is how dirty a range can be if you go to a clean one. Like,
right.
Because when I came to Independence first, after coming to or going to other ranges, not just, in town or around Idaho, but in Illinois and other places, it's like some ranges are just dirty, man.
Oh, they are.
And dangerously dirty because
they're gross.
There's all like the buildup of gunpowder on the ground and
just waiting for a spark to happen. Absolutely.
Yeah, or the ventilation. Yeah, your hands are black by the end of it. And
I've seen some ranges, and again, not naming any names, but their only their version of state-of-the-art ventilation was a box fan.
Oh my God.
That wasn't even necessarily on half the time. So
that's terrifying.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Now, federal level, there's a lot of input on the federal level, making sure that stuff doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And they can be a helping hand or an amazing hindrance depending on your attitude towards their help. So it's just crazy. I actually taught the range safety class today, and one thing I always hit hard every time is range cleanliness. Like just how important it is, just for a safety standpoint of not having crap on the ground. Like, you feel better going into the range in the beginning. It just feels different. Like, there's ranges in Las Vegas that are just basically dumpsters and triggers. Like,
oh, really?
They're just gross, like overflowing trash cans, and it just blows my mind. Like, why would you even, as a business owner, why would you even just let it get to that state?
Right.
Yeah, maybe it's people who want to own a range, but they don't know about all that stuff or don't think about it. They just want to have a place to shoot for free or something, or
realize the commitment it takes. Yeah,
or think they can make it.
They get overwhelmed or whatever, and that might be a personnel and training issue too. But nonetheless, that still falls on the owner of the range. It's not implementing some sort of protocol.
Yeah. So we're really lucky to have a nice, clean range with an owner who cares and has those details at top of mind. So.
Understands the investment is another way.
That too. So actually, one of the other things I wanted to bring up, obviously when you walk into a gun store, you see all the guns in the cases, and we got a lot of guns.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are guns that maybe are something that you want to have that you can't find or is tough to find.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's damn near impossible to carry every gun in the store.
Yeah. And you mentioned special orders at the beginning a little bit, and you were just helping somebody out with one.
Absolutely.
Can you talk kind of about how that process works? I think that's a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. So, absolutely. So basically, I mean, any gun that's out there, as long as it's available and it's able to be purchased, anything can be special ordered. And typically all handguns are 2-day air. So, I mean, you're looking at getting that handgun in 2 to 3 days. It's not a floor model. It hasn't been fondled by anybody. And long guns are shipped ground, so typically about 4 or 5 days. So anything that you order, a week and a half, we can have it in for you. Especially with these online websites and stuff, it's kind of hard to compete because they have so much resources, and so a lot of guys still like to support us as a company and, support local shops and stuff like that. And be honest, they can go and get it online for even a little bit cheaper, but they still want to support us. So they'll come in and be like, hey, I don't even see this gun available on your website. Is this something that you can look into? And the answer is, of course. Yeah. If it's out there, we'll try to get it.
Because I always think that there's a good if you have the gun shop that you always go to, you have that good relationship.
And that's a good point, because if you ever have issues, now you have boots on the ground, somebody you can physically go bring that gun to, talk to them about it, make sure one, it's the right one, or if you do have issues, they can help you through it. We've had guys simply, like an AR, they took apart at home and they couldn't figure out how to put it back together.
Or even a Glock.
Or even a Glock.
Depending how far you tear down that Glock, sometimes you can't get it back together if you don't really understand how the process works. And we take it for granted how simple we think it is, but
some people don't. And that's the one thing that the online website's not going to be able to help you with. Now, granted, YouTube is a very good resource and stuff like that.
Resource too.
Also bad.
Because it show if they have the camera at the wrong angle and you can't see what the hell they're doing, that's incredibly frustrating.
And they seem to always, I don't know if it's just me, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I'm looking at a video that I really need, I feel like in all the areas that I already knew, they go into so much detail. And the one little thing that I needed to know, they skip over it.
Yeah. Just do this.
And you're just like, wait, what is this? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had to do that the first time I had a Ruger Mark III.
Oh, yeah.
And I started taking it apart and whatever. I'm like, okay, this makes sense, whatever. And then putting it back together, I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to have to go to the gun store and return this and be like, I'm an idiot. Just take it back.
Just help me. I can't do it.
Don't worry, you're not alone when it comes to the Mark I through 3.
But I'll tell you what, Ruger Ruger actually has some pretty good videos. I mean, they're like 20 years old now, but the videos are actually pretty good on their website, really step by step. And I had to watch that the first like half dozen times that I put that thing back together. So
taking like notes.
Yeah.
The other point that I just now realized or remembered as well too is we also in store offer a lifetime warranty, and that's really important because every manufacturer typically offers a lifetime warranty with the gun. Mm-hmm. But, in order to fulfill that, you have to contact the manufacturer, you have to get in communication, get, labels from them. And a lot of times it's a 6 to an 8 week turnaround, no matter how simple or how big the issue is. Here at Independence, we have a gunsmith right on site. Yeah. And so if we can, help assist and get that problem fixed within the same day or a few days, it's a lot better than 6 to 8 weeks. And at the very worst case scenario, if it does need to go back to the manufacturer, we can handle all that headache for them. They don't have to call the manufacturer. They don't have to do all that. They simply bring it to us, say there's issues, and then if we have to do it, we'll take care of it. We'll ship it out, handle all the hard stuff, and then just call them back in when it's ready.
Yeah.
So it gives you that peace of mind for sure.
Well, and it's a lot faster and easier, like you said, especially if it's like your carry gun, something you depend on, that your life could depend on.
Oh yeah, you don't want to go without that for longer than you have to.
For 2 months, yeah.
Well, and then you talk about the face-to-face interaction. Sometimes Jeff isn't the most cheerful person in the world, but it's face-to-face interaction with the gunsmith where who's working on your gun. You
can go talk to him, see the status of it. You know what I mean?
He's got certs from a lot of the manufacturers to show that he knows how to tear apart this particular firearm. The guy works for NASA. Come on, he's not an idiot.
He can figure it out.
He can do anything with guns. So.
Absolutely.
You were talking about special orders. It made me think of, and we've done stuff through Gallery of Guns too. You kind of get, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, Mark, what Gallery of Guns is, where you can. It's kind of the best of both worlds. So Davidson's is one of our distributors, and we have a great relationship with Davidson's.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So they created the Gallery of Guns, which basically retailers partner up with the Gallery of Guns. You pay for the gun here at the store, but it's off the website, if that makes sense. It's kind of confusing. It's not your normal buying experience online.
But you can do it with the deposit. You don't have to pay for it all up front.
That's true.
That's a big
That's
pusher
true.
for a lot of people.
And then you pay the balance here at the store. You still do all your paperwork here, but it's nice because you have the option of having a vast online resource of firearms
at your fingertips.
At the fingertips, but you're still dealing with your local gun
person,
shop.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
It really is.
And Davidson's has a lot of stuff that we definitely do not have.
Yeah, it's impossible. I mean, like I said earlier, we have $1.1 million worth of inventory, and we can't.
It sounds like a lot, but
it's really not when you think about it. Yeah. Absolutely. It's just, and that's the whole thing is you feel like you are carrying everything, and sometimes you kind of even go stretch out and expand. And without a doubt, you get that one customer that's like, nope, I need this. And it's like, well, I don't even know what that is. But let's look into it.
I want that new MP5.
Oh, man, that's been a big craze these days.
Was it the SP5 now? Is what they're calling
it?
The
SP5, just a domestic. But
we've gotten one so far. But that's a particular situation. The demand is a lot higher than the supply.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine it's going to be that way 44. For a while.
Yeah, like you're not going to get it at least until maybe February.
Yeah, we're going to have 3 Glock 44s.
No, 2.
3. Oh,
shut
2.
Up,
okay. All right. Sorry.
Sell my gun.
So we're going to have 2 Glock 44s available. It's going to be January 20th is when we're going to be allowed to sell them.
Yeah, because it's not an immediate release. Like some manufacturers like, hey, here's a gun, and now you can get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of the old school way, like it used to be in the industry where, we're going to announce this gun, but you won't get it for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 6 months, and then finally you start seeing things ship and everything like that.
Or some manufacturers, we're going to debut this gun at SHOT Show. And we're never going to
buy next SHOT Show.
If we may actually put it in distribution.
It's almost like concept cars sometimes, where the auto industry has concept cars, and then you never see them ever again.
Yeah,
just get the hype going.
And it's always stuff that's like really cool. Like,
it's always
people
cool.
Want, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you could shed a little bit of light on that, and then we've talked about it before, I think, on the podcast. But why that is sometimes where it's like, okay, there's a lot of hype around that new SP5, then a lot of hype around the Glock 44, but we're not going to get hardly any.
I think. And I'm just speculating because every manufacturer is different. I found that some guys do a little differently where, they wait till the gun's ready to be shipped and then they create the hype. And some other companies, especially our bigger guys, they get the hype going and they haven't even started production yet.
Really?
And I think a lot of that to be truthful, is they're wanting to test the market and see how much craze it creates, whether it's through social media and if people are blowing up and demanding
it's kind of a
for
crummy,
it.
it's a kind of a crummy way to do it, because then the consumer's like, yes,
Yeah,
why am
yeah,
I still
yeah.
waiting for it?
Yeah.
And they all think it's going to come out the next day, and you're the jerk that's not willing to get it for them,
Yeah.
It's all Levi's fault why I don't have a Glock 44 right now.
And it's like, look, if I had little else in my shop, I'd make it right here for you, no
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah. No, I wish H&K would come back out with the P7, I think is what it is.
yeah,
That'd be
that'd be
cool from
good.
Die Hard. I just rewatched that movie a little while ago.
Classic.
Great
yeah.
Christmas movie.
One of the
Oh,
best
yeah.
Christmas movies, yeah.
I agree.
But man, that P7 that's a cool gun. So, but who knows? They came out with the SP5, so
Yeah,
and
we'll see.
that thing's not going to be cheap either. It's like 25.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I
and
don't
I've
want
seen
to
online
speculate,
sales
but
Yeah,
$3,000
so-
or $4,000.
And that's
yeah.
the way the market happens, is like, yeah, this gun MSRP's at whatever, $2,500.
But you can't get it.
But when there's limited quantity, all of a sudden economics take place, and now you can buy it a gun broker if you can find it for $1,000.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Well, we've seen that in the past with weapons ban scares and things
Oh,
like that,
yeah.
where it's like, I mean, magazines were going for
Fear
$100 a
buying.
pop, and it's kind of the same principle, just a different circumstance. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, so
that's
capitalizing
part of the beauty
opportunities.
of the market.
it's no industry like the gun industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, last question I have for you, and then we'll get to Steve's questions.
Oh,
because Steve has his
ready,
5
huh?
questions. But what do you kind of see coming down the pipe? What do you think the next kind of big thing maybe is going to be in guns, or what do you see the new trends that are coming up for next year?
The new trends. So what I've seen, honestly, is not that there's really new guns coming out. It's more companies are mimicking each other. Like one company has a good design, and we're seeing them kind of like cross-pollinate, if you will, and they just kind of blend what they had and what they're using to what was popular of their competitors. You look at the Shield, the Smith & Wesson Shield that came out, and then shortly you had the Glock 43,
Right.
and then you had the 365, and now you have the Hellcat.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just they're very similar designs. One of the guns that just came out that we haven't mentioned yet is the Smith & Wesson EZ 9mm.
In 9.
Yeah, I just saw
9
that.
mil.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is super cool.
For the last 2 years, that in fact it's actually been a Black Friday special for us for the last 2 years and been very successful.
Yeah, and that Easy is a huge seller for
it
Smith.
is.
And it was a good idea.
It was. Yeah, it was. And I honestly, I think the 9mm is going to be even hotter, because that was the one complaint I had from that EZ 380 was, oh man, this gun's so cool. It's so easy, but it's in 380, and so I think if they're going to keep those same features, easy to manipulate slide, easy to handle, but in 9mm, I think it's really going to take off.
I think so too, and it's going to introduce a lot of new people to the shooting sports. Because I remember, RSOing with the ladies, the independent women. A lot of them had, it was hard for them to manipulate the
absolutely.
slide, and it was
people have
intimidating.
arthritis. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that
Yeah.
they have issues that were manipulating those slides for sure.
And then you give them a Shield EZ to mess with, and they just and they're ready to go. And it's like, oh, this is fun. Like, and to see somebody's
their face lights up. and the
with just
excitement.
an easy change of a gun. So
Yeah, and then jumping to the 9 gives it a better option to carry too. It's a
Exactly.
caliber that most people trust. I mean, I don't want to get shot by anything. But,
Right, yeah. Even at 22, I'm out.
yeah, but still, the 9 I'm sure makes a lot, especially husbands if they're buying that gun for their wives.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Or girlfriends or whatever. I guess if you're married, you better not have another girlfriend.
I bought 2, one for my wife and my girlfriend.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
But it gives them maybe a peace of mind that there's a cartridge that they can handle that also will.
Yeah, and a weapon that can function.
Yeah.
They can manipulate. So
And have that confidence in it for sure. So I think that's going to be the big trend that we're going to see for this coming year. And then, to be honest, I think, as we get closer to that politics, the election season, it's, as we saw with the Obama period, that fear tactic, if you will. Even if Trump were to get reelected, I think that sheer panic is, you're going to see the market go crazy.
There's definitely a fear that's always involved in the market, and we've talked about that a few times,
several
honestly,
times.
but
Yeah.
it's just, that's an unfortunate reality, or it sucks, but mass shooting events.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They dictate a lot too, which I don't think it has anything to do with like evil NRA wants to increase gun sales, and so they produce a mass shooting.
Yeah, no.
The world's just a crazy place.
It is.
That's all. And
it really is.
Honestly, gun crime has gone down 50% in the last 30 years, 50%, and
That's
ownership
insane.
is skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So it does not correlate. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, well, thank you for spending some time with us.
Yeah.
You're not going to go just yet, though.
Oh man,
I'm
I
sure
was already.
there's probably a dozen people out there looking for you.
You know, I'll tell you what, this has been really nice because I haven't heard my phone ring once. I mean, partially because it's not in this room, but it's a very nice feeling.
Yeah, you get to sit and chill for a second.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but we ask every guest these 5 questions just to get to know them as a person a little bit more. So,
Oh, okay, so it's a test. All right.
Yeah.
It is a test. It's all verbal essay answers.
But just answer them the best the way that you think, and
Okay.
shorter as long. There's no wrong answer, and just to get to know Levi Dennis a little bit better.
All right, well, here goes nothing.
Yes, like Mark's saying, the absolute purpose of these questions is just to get to know our guests outside of their comfort zone
Okay.
in the
All
market
right.
of the gun industry.
We'll see if we like what we see, I guess. Yeah.
It's not too bad. It's
All
not
right.
too bad. So, question number 1 is, what experience in your life has been the most influential and why?
You know, well, I mean, that is a very tough question. I think for me, it was having my daughter. I think that really changed my mindset. I went from being a kid to more of an adult. You know, I'll be honest with you, I'm still feeling like I'm a kid figuring out how to take care of myself. But that gave me some internal motivation to never give up and never succeed because, you know, now I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for me and her. So, yeah, I'd have to say that that's probably the best and biggest experience of my life for sure.
Nice.
Awesome.
And she's super cool.
Yeah,
she
all right.
is pretty awesome.
She is, and I'll tell you what. So real quick, she comes into work with me quite a bit. You know, I'm working a bunch, and it was so funny. One of the first times that she came in, there was an older gentleman looking at an AR, and he was working with the salesman, and he didn't have the best muzzle awareness, and it was a retail floor. It wasn't the range, but he'd been pointing that barrel right at the sales associate. And my daughter, 4 years old, runs right over to him and says, "Excuse me, sir. You're not. My daddy says you're not supposed to point guns at anybody, even if they're unloaded."
That had to make you so proud.
I was the proudest dad ever, man.
Nice.
I tell you.
That's super cool.
Of course, he was all bright red and embarrassed having a 4-year-old correct her, but you know she was right.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
yeah.
awesome, man.
We need her on the sales floor.
Oh, honestly, yeah, she's
Compliance manager.
for sure.
All right. Okay, number 2. So you just won the lottery. It's an exorbitant amount of money, like just ridiculous amounts of money. What is the first thing you're going to do with the winnings?
Go on vacation because I have no idea what that concept is. I haven't really had one of those in a long time. So being honest, that first 2 weeks, I'm going to be MIA and people are going to be like, "Hey, where'd that millionaire go?"
Disappeared.
Vanished. But after that, you know, I think I'd like to invest into a company making a difference, you know, whether it's a gun industry or even the paintball industry. You know, I think you can have all the money in the world, but unless you're doing something with your life, it doesn't mean anything. So, I'd take that as an advantage to, hey, maybe build another independence. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
That's good. You know, most people say they'll build an orphanage for deprived children.
Well, you know, I'm a realist. No, sorry.
Levi's going to build a paintball range. But no, but I think,
Some of my best family experiences were on the paintball range.
I'm not saying that's a bad. I'm just giving you shit, but you're right. Like, we talk about being good stewards to the Second Amendment and building more ranges, getting people introduced. Even paintball, still teaches them part of the environment.
Safety concepts, and getting out and doing stuff. You know, not just being behind a video game and a TV screen your whole life.
Yeah, running around and team building has to be a big thing. Communication, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all those things that go with paintball. So
and honestly, like, and I don't know if this is a correlation, but I think paintball helped me with a lot of my demeanor and my stress levels. You know, I mean, I'm pretty
out. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty level headed. It takes a lot to rile me up, and I'm wondering, you know, picturing back in the paintball tournament days, being behind a bunker and being shot at from 3 different directions constantly, and having to handle that stress. I wonder if that kind of correlated, you know.
Yeah, that is one thing I will say about Levi. He's always pretty chill, even when the world's falling down around you. You're always just we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
That's a great answer.
Okay, number 3. You ready for this one?
Oh man, here we go.
What's your biggest fear?
Sharks. I being honest, sharks. So I'm a mountain kid through and through. I used to be a ski and snowboard instructor. I love the mountains. I'd go backcountry skiing and everything like that. But I think at a very young age, I had a stepbrother. I think I was 4, maybe even a little bit younger than that. And we watched all the Jaws movies.
Oh man!
And I'm telling you,
in the bathtub.
I was in the bathtub. Like my imagination at that time was picturing Jaws come ripping through that bathtub. Yeah. So I love the ocean. I've been in the ocean, but being in the big body of water with a shark in there, it's out of my. I'd rather take a bear and fist on.
Not me.
Nice.
I don't like bears.
He was fast with that answer too. I think that's the fastest response we've ever gotten to that question. So
I'm pretty set on it. Other than that, I mean, it's not much.
Nice.
So this one's kind of like the first question, but not really. Is what would you say is your biggest achievement?
My biggest, oh man, yeah, that's almost like the first one. Oh, this one I'm gonna have to think about.
And they could be the same answer too, so there's no wrong answer there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would still have to agree with my first answer, but I think for me, my biggest achievement is when I was in Germany. I was in 8th grade, and we helped build through MWR, which is a program for military spouses and families, and they're all set on boosting morale. So like they'll go on recreational trips, they'll go on vacation stuff, and through their budgeting and finances and stuff, we were able to make multiple requests all the way to the head European commander, and to get it approved to actually build a paintball field on one of our recreational spots that both Germans and Americans can come in and play.
Nice.
And it took us about a year to build it, and within the first day that we opened, we already broke even. We're in profit.
Wow.
And it was the very first time in Ansbach, Germany, that you actually had Germans and Americans coming together and hang out in a peaceful environment. A lot of people don't know, but when I was over there was a lot of riots, and I don't blame them. We've been in their country 50 years, and they're kind of wondering why we're still there. So the tensions were really high. And so doing that, it ended up was my stepping platform to become semi-pro. But we ended up, me and my family got awarded the MWR Volunteer of the Year award.
Wow.
And initially, I'll be honest, I was young. I didn't really take that into too much heart. I thought it was just throughout the whole base. Come to find out, it was throughout the whole military.
Wow.
And so we won that award for the year. And I think for me, it was a stepping platform for my career and my success today, but it was an achievement on a social level to actually see, these two different sides come together and actually be, friends and have a good time. So
spread some peace.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I think that's awesome.
I think that's a pretty good achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's no big deal. Just got a major award
throughout the whole military. It's no big deal. Yeah.
I'll be honest. At the time, I didn't. It was more of an inconvenience because I think I wanted to go hang out with my girlfriend or something like that.
Stupid pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, right.
Got to go in front of these people, all clap.
I don't want this. Yeah, I don't want to deal with this. I just want to hang out with my friends.
Yeah, right.
All right, the last one. This is by far my most favorite question. I always preface this way. I know how I would answer, and I always get excited to hear how other people answer this question.
All right, all right.
Like I say, this is my favorite one out of all of them. So, who would you consider your hero and why?
Hero and why? Ooh, man, that is tough.
We got him.
Yeah, you did. You totally did get me on that. Well, I mean, from just a personal level, I'd have to say my dad is probably my hero. And reason being, a lot of people don't know, but I was actually adopted. My mom, I still have my same mom, but my dad adopted me. Mm-hmm. And it was when I was 8 years old. And took me in under his wing, treated me just like his own. I never once felt like I was anything but. And he kind of changed my life around where, it wasn't really a whole lot going and stuff like that. And the moment he stepped in my life, it was, military and discipline and stuff like that. And he gave me the skill sets to be sitting here today and doing what I'm doing. So
awesome.
Yeah. So I'd have to say my true hero is going to be him. And then on a side note, I love Keanu Reeves. I'll be honest, I love John Wick. I like to see actors take it seriously and stuff like that. And I'm not one to really kind of get excited about famous people, but he's probably one guy I'd shake his hand. I wouldn't get an autograph, but I'd shake his hand and say I appreciate his movies.
He's probably one person that would actually sit down and have a conversation with anybody, though.
Honestly,
yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's probably
he's
why.
Pretty solid dude.
He's low key. Yeah, we should get him here one of these days.
I'll text him.
Be?
I'll text him.
Oh, you got his number? No big deal. Man, that'd be cool. probably have him like as a special guest on some like
man.
At the range for like a day or something or whatever.
A true John Wick experience.
Yeah,
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, see, we're geeking out over
See
it.
if
Yeah,
you can
I know,
see if you can outshoot Keanu in a head-to-head competition.
No way.
Oh,
No
man.
way.
Did you know the Matrix 4 and Wick 4 come out the same day?
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea they were making another Matrix.
I had no idea that was a thing either. Wow.
Yeah, I just heard that like a day or two ago, and I'm like, and my fiance was like, "How is he in the same place twice?"
Well, I mean, that's
It's a glitch,
he's the guy.
a glitch
yeah.
in the Matrix.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, Levi, thank you so much,
Of
my friend.
course.
It's been great. It's been worth the wait.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took so long.
No, you're
Hopefully,
good.
better late than never.
So
but yeah.
see, it wasn't worth all the stress.
No.
It's just you and us and 50,000 of our closest friends.
Yeah, right.
No big deal. No
Yeah.
big
So,
deal.
but no, we really appreciate you taking some time, and I
course.
hope you had a good time.
I did. Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but that was nice.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't. I mean, I had to sit next to Steve the whole time, but no.
Most people, I think, are pleasantly surprised. So,
I distinctly remember. So Levi, when we all went to SHOT last year, Levi came with us for the first time. That was the second time I
Yep.
went with the store, and I specifically remember something that he said to me.
Uh oh.
We were at the Glock party,
yeah.
and we were having fun,
Oh dear.
and he may have relaxed a couple times at the bar,
Enjoyed himself. Yeah, sure.
Oh man.
and he's like, I had no idea that my Mormon boss could be so much fun.
Oh yeah. I do stand by that statement. I do. I had a
It was
blast.
hilarious. I don't drink. I'm LDS, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And we can be normal. Like, I'm not scared to go into a bar. I don't drink.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'll go hang out with some friends, which maybe that's Jack Mormon-y, but just hanging out at the party is just hilarious. All of a sudden,
That's
just out of the blue, I had no idea that my Mormon
I
boss
remember
was
there
so
being.
much fun.
I mean, I don't know if I should elaborate in this, but I just remember there being spanking involved as well too. If you do, you remember that? Yeah. Uh huh.
Good time.
I got to go to SHOT Show, man.
Oh man.
Yes.
We should go this year.
I'm
need to
absolutely
get hooked
down.
up to go. So, man,
Got to do it.
I just need to buy my tickets.
there you go. So, well, if you have a question for Levi about anything, let us know. We can put you in touch with him. Podcast at iishooting.com. He gets enough email and phone calls as it is, so we'll be the screener for him. Or if you have a special order or something, come on into the shop and come find him, and
Absolutely.
he'll be able to help you out. So,
Do you want to give out your email or anything?
Yeah, you can always email me. It's just my first name, Levi, Levi, at iishooting.com. I do get a lot of emails, so I may not be very quick to respond, but I do make sure to try to respond to everybody. So
Nice.
feel free to reach out. Absolutely.
Cool.
That's what I'm here for.
Word.
well, thank you, sir,
Yeah.
and thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
All right,
thanks,
guys. Be safe.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.